All right. Hey guys, happy Friday. Thank you guys so much for joining. Appreciate it. It's a pleasure to see everyone. Today we're going to be talking about tariffs. What's the latest with tariffs? What's going on with all that crazy stuff? And then what can you do about it in your businesses? So, yeah, we're going to get into it. Today we have joining with me is Chris from our TurnKey team. He's been with us for many, many years. Chris is amazing. He's our logistics expert. He helps our clients and leads that division with everything from case management to logistics, supply chain, all that good stuff. So today, feel free to put any questions that you have in the chat box because we are going to leave time for questions and answers at the end, but we might answer some questions during the middle. If anything comes to mind during the presentation, put any questions in the chat and we'll make sure to cover it. What's the latest on tariffs, and then what can you actually do about it? What have we seen some of our bigger clients do? What's working? Chris, thank you for helping do all this research as well. Big thank you to you. For those of you that don't know, we've expanded at TurnKey our services to do inventory management for clients as well as supply chain for clients. We've been working with clients' suppliers, and so that's where we've gotten a lot of experience. So that's why we're going to be talking about this experience with you guys and share what's working and what we've seen. Just a quick exciting update for you guys. And then also, if any of you are bigger companies where like you're doing over $1 million a year in revenue and you have a big operation trying to move sourcing outside of China, feel free to contact us. We've vetted a few companies that we have that have certain specialties and areas that maybe would be a fit for you if you wanted to move your sourcing outside of China quickly. You can contact us either way. Maybe we can do it for you, or we have a couple companies that might be a good fit for you. You know how to contact us. You can always email us at hello@turnkeyproductmanagement.com. Chris, you want to breeze through the high-level update? Obviously, guys, I think Trump tweeted this morning or maybe last night with some new update on China. Changes literally by the hour or by the minute. This is all in flux. This is, to the best of our knowledge, this is generally close to what the latest is, but again, it's all in flux and changing. Chris, if you just want to give them a quick overview on these major countries here.
Sure. Yeah. So in Canada, Mexico, the general import tariffs are 25% on all imports. We've actually reached a UK trade deal that's going to really amplify our relationship with the UK, where tariffs are going to be capped at a 10%. This is going to close loopholes and increase US firms' competitiveness in the UK procurement market. It's also going to ensure streamlined customs procedures for US exports to get things cleared and into the market as quickly as possible. It's also going to help establish high standard commitments to intellectual property rights within the UK. So this could really open the doors. If you're not selling globally, this might be a time to start looking into going into the EU marketplace and getting products over to the UK, because this is going to help our visibility over there. China, on May 12th, they created a deal that dropped the tariffs from 145% down to 30%. However, most sellers are seeing about a 34% increase. This is due to other customs and duties fees on top of the 30%. So it's around 34% of what the average comes out to. However, as Jeff mentioned, Trump did come out today saying that China violated the trade deal already. So he hasn't increased the tariffs again, but there is a potential because of this for him to negate the 90-day deal and bring those tariffs back to 45%. Hopefully that doesn't happen. As of right now, they are still at 34% with the additional fees and duties.
So basically, we have a 90-day period from May 12th. So August 12th is the deadline in theory with China. Hopefully they can make a deal before then, but you never know what might happen. He might extend the pause for another 90 days. It doesn't seem certain that some great deal with reduced tariffs some long-term deal is going to be made by August 12th. Like, that's my sense of it, but you don't know what's going to happen. Is that your gut take, Chris?
Yeah, as of today, the trade negotiations to come to a deal have stalled because of Trump stating that they violated. So yeah, it doesn't look, in my opinion, that it's going to hit a deal within the 3-month mark. But hopefully, if it doesn't, they just extend the 30% and it doesn't go back up because that's obviously what nobody wants is for the tariffs to continue to rise. But to get to a deal in 3 months doesn't seem like that's going to happen at this point.
Yes. Okay. And
To answer your question, Dan, about utilizing the free trade zone for important goods and modifying the products, yes, that's actually was going to be one of our recommendations in optimizing inventory and logistics, to utilize those foreign trade zones and bonded warehouses to store your goods so that you can defer those duty payments until those items are sold. So that's definitely an option to keep those tariffs low.
cool. Why don't we dive into these strategies first that we've seen? We'll cover these, and then feel free to put any questions in the chat, and we'll cover them at the end. Chris, do you want to go through these? Whether you're in a China-based supplier or not, these strategies can work in general. A lot of these deals are still up in the air with a lot of these countries. You don't know what'll happen. Diversifying and having a backup country supplier connection can be a good thing to start lining up as a hedge, whether it's related to tariffs or whether it's related to sometimes your supplier, stuff happens with them where they get backed up or they can't. Chinese New Year's coming up, they're running low on their supplies, and you get kicked to the back of the line, or some other big brand comes in and cuts you in line, and they say, oh, it's going to be 4 months before we can get your order to you. So a lot of these principles are good practices to apply and think about for your business. Chris, why don't you start with number one?
Yeah, the first step is to negotiate with your suppliers. They want to keep the relationship, because if you're making money, you're ordering more from them, they're making money. So there's always room for negotiation. They don't want to just lose you because you want a cheaper cost of goods or you want your supplies for a lower cost. So it's always good to negotiate and speak with them and treat them like a partner, because essentially that's what they are. As long as you're doing good, they're doing good, and vice versa. So, you can request price reductions, extended payment terms to help offset the increased cost. Consider bulk purchasing commitments in exchange for discounts. So the more you buy, the cheaper the cost is. Work with suppliers to find cheaper raw materials or alternative production methods, lower those costs. If your supplier is unwilling to negotiate, explore new manufacturers that may offer better pricing, diversifying your sourcing. So reducing that dependency on these Chinese imports helps avoid ongoing tariff risks and supply chain disruptions, So yeah, identifying other suppliers in other countries where they have lower tariffs, such as Vietnam, India, and Bangladesh. Conduct small test orders before fully transitioning production to ensure the quality and reliability is there. Research regional trade agreements that may offer other tariff advantages. And there's also platforms, we've all heard of them, Alibaba, Global Sources, and also going to trade expos outside of China. Even if you don't want a new supplier, having a backup supplier that can step in and help produce your product, like Jeff said, if China goes on a Chinese New Year where they all go out of the warehouse for extended periods of time, or there's disruptions with their supplies and they can't provide you a product. So always having a backup supplier is always a good thing. Next, we're going to go into optimizing inventory and logistics.
One other thing I want to add is, if you haven't sparked up a conversation with your supplier, right, you usually have a point of contact, or you can escalate or ask the owner or the manager of the factory. But just talk to them and say, hey, like, this is really affecting me, as I'm sure it's affecting a lot of your clients, and with the tariffs. And then just say, like, what are some of the solutions? Like, do you have any possible solutions? Because I love working with you, but and you guys have been amazing, and I don't want to leave you, but these tariffs are really hurting, especially if you're dealing with China, for example, because the tariffs are so much higher. What other solutions do you have? Do you have any workarounds? Do you have any strategies? Because a lot of these Chinese suppliers, they've already figured out other solutions, and maybe they just haven't communicated them to you clearly. For example, one of our clients contacted their supplier, and they have a sister company in another country in Asia. I can't remember which one, but it was,
Yeah, I don't recall.
a neighboring country that had significantly lower tariffs, but they already had a factory there that was their sister company, and so they were able to move the molds from China to the other factory they owned in Vietnam. It only took maybe a month or two to get that up and running. It didn't take too long. They worked it out from there. You never know whether they own the factory in Vietnam or whatever other country they associate with, or maybe they've lined up partner factories. Maybe they don't own them, but they have worked out some sort of deal where they've lined up other suppliers where they've got some sort of financial arrangement with them. So that's kind of step one. See what you can figure out and salvage with your current supplier, and hopefully that will solve most of your problems.
Something that I've done a lot in the past is treating your supplier, almost like a family member. You're reaching out to them, asking how they're doing, asking about their family, create that personal relationship with them. So to them, you're not just another number or another buyer. You create that personal connection, and they'd be more willing. Oh, I remember this person. They reached out. They asked about my family. They're seeing how we were doing. I'd be more willing to help them out over somebody who just submits purchase orders and such. So reach out to them, send them a quick email, see how things are doing, and create that relationship. When it comes time to negotiate terms, they'd be more willing to do some hurdles to help you out.
Awesome. Cool. Then you can go on to number 2 now.
Yeah, so we went over number 2, diversifying sourcing, looking for other areas, other suppliers outside of China. One of the best things to do is trade expos to connect with those suppliers that are outside of China. But we'll hop to number 3, which is optimizing inventory and logistics. You want to have a strategic inventory management that can reduce tariff exposure and improve cash flow. By doing this, as Dan asked earlier, is importing inventories before tariffs increase, utilize foreign trade zones or bonded warehouses to store your goods and defer duty payments until those items are sold, ship products to lower tariff countries, and then distribute to the U.S. to reduce those direct import costs, and then optimizing your packaging and your weight to lower those shipping and storage costs and minimize the impact of higher tariffs. That's to optimize your inventory and logistics, and staying on top of that and figuring out ways to get your product out of China into other countries that have lower tariffs, bringing down the size of your packaging, the weight of your packaging to lower those shipping costs. All of those pennies add up and help in the long run. Next is adjusting your pricing and your product strategy. Raising prices outright may hurt sales. Customers may see this increase and not want to purchase anymore. So a balanced approach is necessary. So implementing moderate price increases while keeping an eye on your competitors' pricing strategies, doing smaller price increases little by little over time so that the customer doesn't notice this huge increase right away, offering product bundles, selling multiple items together at a slightly discounted rates to increase the perceived value to your customer, using Amazon's subscribe and save program to encourage repeat purchases and to stabilize revenue, highlighting premium quality and unique selling points in your listings to justify price increases. What makes your product better than the competitor that would justify why your price might be higher than a competitor's pricing, and making sure that that is clear as day in the listing and the customer is going to see that. And then next is leveraging the tariff classification strategies. Tariff rates are based on the product classification, and adjustments can legally reduce your cost. So work with your customs broker to review your HS codes and explore whether reclassifying a product under a different category could help lower those tariffs. Making minor modifications, altering the materials or assembly location to qualify for lower duty classifications. And then finally, exploring country of origin shifts where minor final assembly and low tariff countries allow reclassification under a different trade rule. Finally, the sourcing companies, we have gone and done the legwork to vet and build relationships with several reputable sourcing companies. These companies focus on many product categories and global supply chains. These partner companies have a history of helping businesses source suppliers, overseeing quality control, negotiating costs, and coordinating logistics. We'd be happy to facilitate a direct introduction based on your product needs if that's something you'd like to look into more.
All right, cool. That was the crux of it. Please, guys, start putting some questions in the chat, and we will open up to Q&A. For the Q&A, you can do both. It can be tariff-related, sourcing-related, Prime Day, anything. We're open. If we can help or try to answer it to the best of our ability, please start putting your questions in the chat. As a reminder, we put some cool free Amazon resources for you guys if you haven't grabbed them before at turnkeyproductmanagement.com/Ryan for you guys. So big thanks to Capitalism for and the 1% for giving us this opportunity to give you guys some free coaching. Also note on your calendars, June 27th is the next call at the same time here at 10:30 Pacific time. So if you want to add that to your calendar, that would be awesome. Let's start going through the questions.
I'll start with Phil's question regarding the difference between remote fulfillment and shipping directly to Amazon.com FBA from Canada. Does remote fulfillment mean that if someone from the US buys that they're going to get charged the tariffs? So yeah, in the remote fulfillment, they're more than likely going to be charged a shipping fee that's going to include those custom fees. So you are going to have that issue with remote fulfillment. Sending it directly to FBA, customers are going to see that it's in the US FBA. They're going to see a smaller delivery time frame than remote fulfillment from Canada to the US, which is going to show a much longer time frame because it has to go through customs and clearance procedures. There is an increased cost to the US buyers for remote fulfillment. That level of not having to ship it to FBA and go through all of those hurdles and get the customs broker involved. So there is that positive side to it, but customers are going to see it in the US, longer shipping times, increased shipping costs to receive your product. Paul has a question. I live in Canada, import from China, and then send units to the USA warehouse from Canada. Would I declare the transaction price or the retail price, depending on the custom agent? Could they reject my shipment? It would be the transaction price, whatever you've already paid for your product, not what it's going to be sold for in the US. As long as you have all your proper documentation, there would be no reason for a custom agent to reject the shipment. This is where the customs broker comes into play, and having somebody that knows and does their due diligence to make sure that everything's properly documented, so when it gets to customs, it's cleared and not rejected. Definitely use the transaction price paid for the product, not what you're going to sell it for. We actually just had a seller do that, and they used the retail price, and their customs fees were $16,000 compared to what it should have been, like $1,600 if they would have used a transaction price. And now they're having to go through and actually try to get that money back because they made the mistake. So always use the transaction price.
Yeah, that's not a fun mistake.
No, it's not. Nerd Gear Gaming has if you ship a China-made product from Canada to US. I wish to start selling a product made by DuPont China. Would like to see if DuPont India will make it and then source it from there. So I would speak with whoever you're speaking with at DuPont China if you're already speaking with them, or reach out to DuPont India and see if they can make the product themselves. I'm sure, Jeff, she's asking for our help, so I'm sure we can give her a hand with looking into that more if needed.
Just shoot us an email at hello@turnkeyproductmanagement.com with any questions, and we'd be happy to try to see if we can help with that. But yeah, that's what Apple's looking into doing, right? Moving from China to India. So if they're doing it, it's probably a decent idea to look into.
And then Moves Impact. Would you recommend to create a GTIN number for each product, or using Amazon ASIN number is enough? So there's pros and cons to both. Using an Amazon ASIN number and FN SKU is going to separate your inventory from anybody else trying to sell your product. So if a customer buys a bunch of your products and then they want to go ahead and try and sell it on Amazon, they wouldn't commingle the inventory. FN SKU always helps in that situation where it keeps your inventory separate from anybody else that might be selling the same item. But you always want to have a UPC number for your product so that it's properly documented, especially if you sell it outside of Amazon. You're going to want a UPC on your product. But as far as Amazon's concerned, the FN SKU does keep your product separate from anybody else that might sell the same product.
Dan says, can you give me any good strategies to get my organic listing to page 1? Will driving traffic from my website improve my listing placement? That's what everybody wants. Chris, you want to give any insight there I can add on?
So yeah, organic listing to page 1 without any ads. So you're not going to be a sponsored search results. The best thing to do is to, constantly do keyword research, see what new keywords are being utilized, because customer search response or search trends is always changing. So you might find that a week, a month ago, this one keyword was the top keyword and that's what you want to be on. But now a new keyword's taken over that. So you always want to make sure you have these keywords, adding new ones to your backend search terms. You can also use the product description section to add keywords rather than having your actual product description, because the A plus content takes over the product description section. So you can use that product description area to add additional keywords. So yeah, keeping your keyword research on top. Obviously looking for low-hanging fruit. So look for the ones that not a lot of other suppliers. Look for keywords that maybe only have 500 or 1,000 searches compared to 20, 30, 40,000. If you organically rank number one on those smaller, lower-hanging fruit search terms, that's going to help your overall ranking on those bigger search terms as well, because you're going to be more competitive. So looking for those lower hanging fruit, and then obviously just optimizing your listing, making sure your images are fresh, making sure your titles and bullets are as keyword heavy as you can without making it sound like gibberish, as a lot of sellers like to do. Utilizing outside email blasts to have them go to your Amazon page is also going to help with that. Driving as much traffic to the listing using Amazon posts, things like that will get organic searches to your product. Driving traffic from outside of Amazon to your listing will create that organic search and will help your listing placement rise.
That's great, Chris. Great answers, and I agree with all that. The more external traffic you can send, whether it's from email list, your website, social media, an influencer, Google ads, Facebook ads, even if it's small, Amazon tracks, every click, the source of traffic, and Amazon loves to see that you're rewarding them with external traffic. I don't know, based on your question, if you're trying to not use PPC ads, or are you using PPC ads, Dan? Using that as well, especially using all the keyword research that Chris mentioned towards PPC ads can really help as well. It's pretty easy. You just do 100 things really well, and then you'll be right at the top of page one. Piece of cake, right? It's hard. You got to do most things, all these strategies combined over time, continually do it month over month, gain reviews, high conversion rate. Over time, you'll start naturally getting to the top of the page and have a great product as well. If you have the best product or one of the best products out there, it's hard to do all that with a crappy product. We just had a client come to us that we launched it from scratch, got a ton of sales on the launch and got a big press release and was actually on TV, and it did really well. And then the customer return rate on it was just the worst that we've seen in a long time, maybe 50% return rate, something like that. Just getting a ton of one-star reviews because the product didn't work super great. It wasn't great. So it's like, we can only make so many changes to the listing, so our recommendation is you got to kind of go back to the drawing board and do a version 2 of your product. Well, that was a great question. Hopefully that helped.
Yeah, and the next one is just expanding on Amazon Posts. So Amazon Posts is basically, it's a free social media like feature within Amazon where brands, like yourself can visually share engaging content, lifestyle images, videos, captions, to showcase your product and build your brand awareness. Because ultimately you want customers to be aware of your brand, know that your brand's there, and be searching for your brand. So Amazon Posts allows that. You can go on Amazon, you can see other sellers that are just, it's like social media. It's like Instagram, like Facebook. You're just creating posts and informing customers about your product. And it's free to use and it's free to utilize. FNSKU is not mandatory. In some situations, even if you have a UPC for your product, Amazon may require you to use an FNSKU. And that you'll see that they'll tell you that you are not, this product has to use an FNSKU. But in other situations, an FNSKU is not mandatory if you use the UPC that you use when you set up the listing. But that UPC needs to be under product packaging, just like the FNSKU would be. But if you're selling a product that other sellers might be selling and they use that same UPC, then when you ship an inventory under that UPC and the other seller ships an inventory under that UPC, Amazon's going to mix the two shipments together. It's going to be considered commingled inventory. So a customer that's buying from your offer might be getting inventory that was shipped in from this other seller. FNSKU separates all of that. And FNSKU is not mandatory in most situations. If Amazon does say that you cannot use your UPC, they're going to give you a very vague explanation. They're just going to say that the UPC is not allowed for this product. You can reach out to support and ask them why. In some situations, they might reverse that determination and allow you to use that UPC.
Awesome. Other than price and image, what are your 5 top tips to increase conversion rates on Amazon? My conversion rates are lower right now than they have been in the past by quite a bit. That's a great question. Video is a great one that a lot of our clients, when they come to us, they're missing video. Sometimes they already have video assets on their Instagram or website, but they're just not having it on Amazon. Even if you just made a slideshow video of, you know, whatever, a few shots of your product or how the product worked or what the benefits are, that's better than nothing. Adding video can be great. Customer reviews, getting those up using Amazon's request for review can increase your reviews, and trying to reach out to your customers outside of Amazon to get orders on Amazon and then follow up with them for reviews can be a great strategy. Offering lightning deals, coupons, things like that, that'll boost your conversion rate when you're having sales. Any other strategies come to mind, Chris?
Yeah, so A+ content is a big converting factor. So having really nice A+ content on your listing is just going to help a customer make an informed decision and hopefully lead to them purchasing your product. But you mentioned that your conversion rates are lower right now than they have been in the past by quite a bit. So definitely look at your keywords. I always say you should at least quarterly be checking the keywords that you're targeting when you're listing and make sure they're still good, valid keywords and that they're still performing the same way. Finding those lower hanging fruit keywords that a lot of sellers are not utilizing because the search volume is so low, 500 to 1,000 searches might not seem like a good thing. If you have 20 keywords that are getting 1,000 searches a month that only 10 other sellers are targeting, you know, that's an additional 10,000 to 20,000 views a month on those 10 keywords where only 10 other sellers are attacking those keywords. If you only get 10% of that conversion, that's 1,000 extra sales a month. Finding those keywords that are not being utilized by a lot of sellers could drastically help your conversion rate. But again, you know, optimizing those keywords, optimizing your listing, you know, to make it fresh and up to date is always something you want to do. Yeah, I wouldn't say do that quarterly, but at least, you know, yearly look at your listings and make sure they're optimized. But the keyword research is vital to making sure you stay relevant in the search terms that customers are utilizing.
Yep. I'd say study your competitors who are at the top of page 1 organically for the search results you want to be ranking for. Study them. Look at, and you can upload it to AI and be like, what are they doing? Why is their listing better about their listing than ours? What do they have that we don't? How can we differentiate from them? And then split test, right? Sometimes you don't know what's going to work. Sometimes we'll do a split test and we're confident it's going to be better and it doesn't outperform. And sometimes we do a split test of the price point or changing the title, and I don't think it's going to do well, and it can bump conversion by 5%, 10%. Split testing regularly is something that we do with our clients. We're always making new infographics or A+ content, things like that. So make sure to test as well. All right, next question. I purchased 5,000 meters of chains and 20,000 clasps from China, assemble them in Canada, then ship to FBA. Can I still ship to a US warehouse if the product is slightly different but still of Chinese origin? Do I need to alter documentation? I think I'm understanding. So that's one where it's like you're wondering, is just by shipping the 2 pieces together and then someone assembles it, does that make it made in Canada versus made in China? Is that what you're getting from the question, Chris?
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting. I wouldn't want to give an answer on this just because I'm not 100% sure.
He gave a little more color. He said, chain and clasp and finished product is a purse chain, still origin China, but how would I write the documentation item pricing?
You would take the two separate costs from China and add those together, and that would be your landed costs to go into the US. And Nerd Gear Gaming is right. You can say that it's made in China. A lot of people do this. They order their parts separately from China and then they bring it into the US and assemble it in the US. And technically, they can say made in the US, even though the source thing is from China. Since it's assembled in the US, you can say that. In Canada, you can say it's assembled in Canada or made
Yeah,
in Canada.
possibly. It depends how much you're altering the product, right? Like, so that's like we're not customs expert brokers that can
Right.
give you that official advice. So definitely that's where you'd want to talk to a specialist related to that. But it's possible for sure. But you need to make sure there's like, I think they call it like a substantial transformation they're looking for. So is that a substantial transformation by them flashing two things together? It's great. You need to double check that for sure.
And then Natalie asks, any advice for getting better ROAs from our PPC campaigns? We're currently at 1. This is another area that you constantly need to be optimizing is the PPC campaigns. Now, I'm not a PPC expert, but I do know there are search term reports that you can download from your advertising council that you can see where your ad funds are being spent. And you want to make sure you're not spending on keywords that are not converting. And you want to target the ones that are. You always want to be updating these keywords to new, fresh keywords and only targeting ones that are actually converting. So make sure you're looking at your PPC reports to see if there's certain keywords that you're just spending a large amount of ad spend, but not actually converting, because that could help your ROAs.
Yeah. Natalie, what is your ad spend level currently per month on Amazon PPC? And then also, are you running Amazon DSP ads currently? Yes or no? If you can put that in the chat, that would be awesome. Okay, so you're at about 3,000 a month in ads. And are you doing DSP ads yet? Wow, okay, no problem. And that's common. So DSP stands for Demand Side Platform Advertising. So Amazon still owns it. It's an Amazon ad platform, but it's not in Seller Central. That's where PPC campaigns are. But DSP is its own platform. I would say, we talked to so many sellers, probably 9 out of 10 companies are using Amazon PPC in Seller Central, which everyone knows, but probably 2 out of 10 or so companies are actually using Amazon DSP ads. There's less competition on there. So you can do different types of ads, like custom retargeting ads with custom look back windows. You can do cross-selling, like if this customer bought this product, let's do an advertisement for this product. You can target competitors. You can advertise to company or to customers both who are on Amazon and when they leave Amazon and are on their phone or computer elsewhere, not on Amazon. You can put ads in front of them to bring them back to your listing on Amazon. Amazon DSP is really great because there's less competition. The return on ad spend on DSP is typically close to double or greater than what we see on Amazon PPC ads. It's really powerful. We do that for 95% of our clients, managing DSP ads as well as PPC ads. If you haven't tested that, you should try DSP. There are a few requirements, 25 reviews on the products you're listing, and a certain amount of traffic over the last 90 days. It's usually not that hard to qualify for. If you're spending $3,000 a month on ads in PPC, you're probably qualifying or close to that. So I'd say you would probably qualify. That's definitely something to look into. There's two options. You can go directly, if you just Google Amazon DSP ads and go to their webpage, you can do it directly with Amazon DSP, and Amazon itself can manage it for you. But the downside of that is, last we checked a couple months ago, they have a minimum ad spend budget of $20,000 for the first month. Each month you're spending 20 grand, whether it works or not. For most brands that we work with, that's too high, that's too risky. Or you can find an Amazon approved, authorized SPN, seller provider network, approved provider. We've gone through the trainings of how to be a DSP provider for on Amazon. And so because we've gone through that process, we can manage DSP for clients, and because of that, we have no minimum budgets that we have to use for our clients because we have a bunch of clients using it. So we can test as little as $500 or $1,000 of ad spend for the first month of testing. And because DSP is so much more targeted, we're usually able to find out within just 1 or 2 months what the ROAS is going to be. You'll see pretty quickly whether that works. So if you haven't tested DSP and you're spending at least $3,000 a month or more in PPC and it's doing decently well, I would say you should definitely find a company like ours, or if you know another company that does DSP that you're comfortable with, definitely do that. We'll sometimes do DSP only for clients as a small test, as a carve-out service, because it's such a great opportunity for brands. It works really well with PPC. Highly recommend that. So feel free to contact us. We could also do a quick audit of your PPC campaigns as well, just to see. You said it's at 1x ROAS, I think. That is pretty low. So we could do an audit to take a look and see, it could be some fixable things, something structurally wrong with how you're setting up and managing the campaigns, or it may not be a great fit, but we're always happy to take a look at that. What's the best way to contact you? You can just email us at hello@turnkeyproductmanagement.com, or just go to our website, turnkeyproductmanagement.com, and I think at the top right it says like let's chat or book a call or something like that, or I don't know, something like that. There's like a big yellow button. You can click on that, and that gets you in contact with us as well. What else? Can I hire your services? Question mark. My listing needs help. Sure, absolutely. You can contact us there. We build, modify, and optimize people's listings all the time. So that's what we do. We can do Amazon full service as well, but yeah, definitely contact us. And we're selective with who we work with as far as like making sure it's the right client fit, right size, and whether we see opportunity to actually grow you. So we would definitely need to look at your brand and make sure that it's a fit and we feel confident we can help you. You can go to our website to contact us or send us an email and start that conversation. Love how interactive you guys are today. This is awesome. Is it possible to rebrand on Amazon to a new registered trademark name? And if so, is that what your services provide? Chris, do you want to speak to the logistics of that?
Yeah, so technically it's against Amazon policy to rebrand a current Amazon listing to a new brand. The reason why is Amazon thinks it's going to create a bad customer experience. If a returning customer wants to order your item again and they go on the listing and they see that it's under a new brand name, 99% of the time Amazon's going to say you need to create a new listing with a new UPC under the new brand, which would mean you would start over from scratch, building that ranking up. But there is that 1% where we have been able to get listings to update to a new brand, but it's very slim, and it generally takes a long time to actually get that update to go through. According to Amazon policy, it is against policy to change the brand name due to the customer experience side of things.
Feel free to contact us or reach out, and if you want to like send us your listing or something. And so I don't know if you're planning to start a whole new listing from scratch or you're trying to convert, feel free to email us that, and we could at least look into it and give you more specific advice on that. I think we've covered all the questions so far. If anyone wants to unmute themselves or verbally ask a question as opposed to chatting it in the box, definitely feel free to do that. This is a really good session. Chris, thank you so much. You did an amazing job today. Wealth of knowledge as usual.
Appreciate you. I would like to outsource everything to you if possible. Just tell you what the product is and have you do everything and direct my clients there.
Some clients do that, or they'll use our full services. So yeah, just shoot us a message, Priya, and we're happy to see if it's a fit. Yeah, thanks for all the compliments, guys. Thank you so much. We put a lot of work into this one. Thank you guys for showing up and asking such great questions. It was amazing.